What do you so let me ask you something. This is the question that I know our producers probably have in his head. I know he's got to have this question in his head. I've got this question in my head. Our audience might have this question in their head. How do you feel about Hearthstone?
I think Hearthstone has been pretty interesting because it's actually so interesting. You know how all card games typically copied Magic.
Mm-hmm.
When you see Magic the Gathering start copying Hearthstone, you're doing something right.
Oh.
Now, I played Hearthstone for a little bit. There are things I don't like about it.
Mm-hmm.
There are things I do like about it. I mean, but if it wasn't really for Hearthstone setting the mold of how that works, there would be no MTG Arena. And Arena's blown up.
Yeah, there's a whole online community, right?
It's massive. I mean, it was the biggest part of, Wizards when Wizards come out with their quarterly report on, that type of media of how they sell and all that stuff. That was Arena was it. It wasn't Magic Online. A Magic Online is going to be a relic of the past. Ultimately, that's going to go away because Arena's taken over. It's so easy. It's beautiful looking. It's simplistic. My girlfriend she knows how to, she can just literally click buttons. It's super simple. Sure, there's some complexities to anything, but it's coming to mobile this year. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
Largest card game in the world in terms of physical, and it's going to come to mobile, and it's grown so much. And I couldn't get into Hearthstone. It was fun, but Magic was my first love. Yu-Gi-Oh is my favorite, though.
Really?
I've never had more fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and I really felt in depth with it, and I legitimately cared about what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it just didn't. I just had that feeling after 2008 that it was going to change due to how Upper Deck ran it.
Mm-hmm.
And how their little play group and the team they sponsor, they were, we won't get into those guys, but we knew there was a lot of shady things going on there. And ultimately, Konami stepped in, exposed them, and did the right things and took it over. But I knew especially you own, I looked at my deck then. I had 3 Dark Arm Dragons, 3 Solemn Jays.
Crush card, right?
I had a Crush card. I owned 3 Crush cards then. And I knew, based on how the Japanese culture is, they had rare cards and ultra rares and all that stuff, but Dark Arm Dragon was a rare over there.
Yeah.
Over here, when it came out, it was $268.
Yeah.
Without Dark Arm Dragon, if you weren't playing Glad Beast or Dark Arm Dragon, unless you were like someone who was just like a Monarch specialist, you weren't competitive during that time. And Lightsworns were good, but they just weren't. They just weren't the Gladiator Beast deck or the Dad deck.
Mm-hmm.
That was to me like vintage Magic. That was so powerful. Either games were over like that, or they were long, thought-provoking games that one Phoenix Wing Wind Blast changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah,
well-timed
one. Yeah.
That's some big brain Magic. That's some big brain Yu-Gi-Oh play, and people don't appreciate that about that game. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I remember writing my tournament report on the Nationals, and it was just the plays of knowing what to call with Mind Crush or when to trap Dust Shoot, and that was. That's just when you feel like you're in another galaxy when you're playing that.
You're just locked in.
You're locked in.
So I want to get back to this Hearthstone because I want to drive this a little bit more.
Okay.
You say try to get into it, not too much. What about? I'll be honest. I stayed away from it. I stayed away from it up until last year.
I gave it a fair shot.
I legitimately was like, no card games, no Yu-Gi-Oh, no Magic, no nothing. I didn't want to play anything. And I decided to download it, and I decided to start playing a little bit. And I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. And then the card animations, the phrases when they get played were kind of funny to me, so I kind of enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
But I'm just curious, do you ever see yourself in the future? Because you mentioned a very popular player, and I've actually watched him on stream going over to Hearthstone. Would you ever consider that as a transition in any point? And if not, why not?
Not at this moment because MTG Arena is there, and Arena is so easy in terms of the way it plays and interacts. I'm so familiar with Magic cards, the way Magic plays. I think you have more agency in Magic than you do in Hearthstone. I do like how Hearthstone's resource system is, but I also enjoy the element of building my deck with lands. I like having the ability to tutor up more lands, playing less lands, and just letting that kind of change how my deck plays. I enjoy that aspect of it because it's another level to it. And I think the physical cards is something, especially an old dog like me, really appreciates. And Magic, just learning from every other card game, whether it was Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. How many Yu-Gi-Oh products come out within 6 months? Not just a set, just support
Oh,
and
yeah.
just supplemental sets and decks and all that. Magic's there now. Every so often they have secret lair drops. They have commander stuff, and I mean they just released a sub mid set that's 1,000 cards just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, and I think that ability to be Magic the Gathering to bring people in is really huge. And now that Arena is really blowing up, and I think, and it's interesting because I know people who play Hearthstone that don't play card games. They don't think they play card games.
That's so wild to me.
But I'm just like, and I'm like, have you ever played Magic? Like, no, I don't play Magic. Why? 'Cause it's a card game. I'm like, what do you think you're doing? And it's the same adults who play Pokemon Go. And I'm just like, what's going on here?